Most of us grew up in cities or other rural settlements, but imagine spending your whole lives living on the ocean and being raised by a community of people that have spent their entire lives living on the ocean for centuries. In the seas between the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, there are a group of people that have done exactly that long before these modern-day countries even existed. Often referred to as the sea nomads of Southeast Asia, they've spent their entire lives either living and sleeping on boats or on houses like the ones that you see around me that are built on stilts and stand on the ocean. Long before modern technology, they survived by fishing and free diving in the water to get their food from the fishes and by getting other things and trading them with neighboring communities to get the other basic necessities. In the process, they developed genetic adaptations that allow them to stay underwater for longer, with some spending over 5 minutes fishing below the surface at a time and over 5 hours a day. This is the story of the Sama-Bajau people, or the Bajau people in Indonesia, and in this video, I'm going to visit them in one of their ocean villages in one of the very remote islands of Indonesia and spend a few days with them. We're going to learn about how they came to this very unique living situation and learn about their culture and their everyday lives. And in the end, we're going to learn why these people that are often referred to as real-life superheroes because of their diving abilities and are cited as inspirations for movies, including characters in their most recent Avatar film, are increasingly being pushed to abandon their nomadic lifestyle on the ocean and settle on land with everyone else. We're on a port right now, waiting for a ferry that is running late, and it is 11 a.m. So yesterday we flew from Bali to Makassar, a bit more than a 1-hour flight, and stayed overnight at Makassar, which is actually the largest city in eastern Indonesia. But we had to stay overnight there because the flight from there to over here only comes once a day. So I had to wake up at 6:30 a.m. today to get on a 8:20 a.m. flight that came to this city called Baobao. And after we got off there, we picked up our luggage, our guide picked us up, and we drove for an hour now to come to the other side of the island to this port. And now we're about to go to another island, which I believe is called Wangi Island, but that is also not the last stop. On the way, it was very interesting. Our taxi driver had this like little tiny steering wheel that I've never seen before. And we also stopped in the way to get some supplies like bananas, and we also got a bottle of palm wine, which actually tasted like real wine that we're taking with us to the Bajau people, where we're gonna stay with for the next 2 nights. It's coffee.
It's coffee.
We just got coffee from Rian, right? Rian, okay.
Good.
Cappuccino.
Cappuccino, bukan kalawatin anak asu. Pakano kalawatin anak araw. Anak orang. Teh kopi anak. Good.
Ah, bagus.
Bagus, ambil.
Kamu punya arak.
Tidak punya saya kalawatin.
It started pouring the moment we're gonna get on the boat, but we got on in the rain anyways, and now we're on this boat that looks like any of the other boats you'll take on going around the islands, different islands in Indonesia. And I think it's gonna take 2 hours for us to get to Wangi. So we have arrived at the port of Wanshi, and the port that we just came from, Baobao, has historically been a very important regional stopover connecting the traders from Makassar to eastern Indonesia. And Makassar, the city that we actually flew in from this morning, has historically been one of the most important ports in all of Southeast Asia. And the waterways around it were very important for traders that were engaging in the very valuable spice trade in the Molucca Islands. By the way, the area that we are at right now, and we will be for the rest of the video, is very close to Timor-Leste or East Timor, where I made a video from last year. Okay, so we're changing boats at this port to a much smaller, much less stable looking boat where I'm getting on with all my cameras and drones and computers. So this is gonna be interesting. So we arrived to our accommodation. This is where we'll be spending the 2 nights. Right now we are in Sampela village, which is a floating village for around 500 families. And everything here is on these small houses built on these stilts on the shallow reef.
Ya 350.
Barang na sudah nuri. Kecil.
Limau.
And this lady with her stash of fishes that she caught during the day with her little daughter or something showed up, and we just picked a fish that we're gonna have for dinner, and they're really like cutting up a fish in front of us. And this is supposedly what is gonna be served for dinner.
It's enough for sashimi?
It's the house that we'll be staying in for the next 2 nights. Quick tour of the place that we're living in. It's a fairly spacious house. So this is our bed. Doesn't really even have a roof. We just have some, looks like some like tarp or like sheet covering it. But there's even a wardrobe. And the bed does not look bad at all. Let me show you the toilet. Oh man. It's a toilet with the view of the ocean. And the kitchen is actually really nice, and they have a meal for us that's prepared right here. Hi.
Salted soya,
Yeah.
but most better.
Alright, so we had a little bit of a tuna preparation ceremony here, and we have some coffee as well at the place. I don't eat seafood, but my friend thankfully does, so he's gonna try out the freshest fish that I've ever seen.
Okay, so apparently they don't really eat it here with soy sauce. So instead of it, they put a chili and lime and salt on it. Never ate it that way, but I'm curious. This is very good. Catched on the same day, like today. I think I never had that fresh fish before in my life. Can I have another one?
Yeah, it's for you. It's a lot.
All of it?
All for you.
Okay, let's see, let's see.
We have an incredible feast prepared for us with rice, sambal, fish and crabs, and the tuna he just skinned. So I'm gonna chow in on anything that doesn't have fish in it. Another man just came off the boat with a mantis shrimp in a bottle that is also food for later.
We call it mantis.
We're having lunch or dinner, I don't know what it is. We're having a late lunch. And there's all the seafood and stuff. And there's also these, what was it called again?
Manok.
Manioc, yeah.
Okay, it's getting close to sunset, so we're just going for a quick walk around the village. And from what I understand, they have like schools and hospitals and everything in this village. And these bridges are made out of like wooden parts and bamboo sticks that are not the most stable. It's really scary to cross this with a camera, you know? Vlogging while moving. Yo, we should really do this one at a time. This bamboo is cracking. We figured out that the perfect way to walk is sideways, so your feet are on multiple bamboos, not just one. So it looks like they do have some chickens even in the water. So they actually have little shops where they sell like simple products on here. I'm guessing for more sophisticated stuff they have to go back. And they also have like cables. So I guess this island is connected to the land somehow with cables, so they can watch TV and stuff. Okay, if you walk a little bit away across the bamboos, then I think we find more stable platforms like made of concrete. And behind me is the office of the chief of the village.
Surya, it's okay.
Santiago found a place to buy cigarettes.
Yeah. The good local ones.
Okay, it's 6:18 p.m. and it's dark, so we took a boat back so we don't have to do all the crossings in the dark because there are not a lot of lights here. We're gonna stop filming for today because I don't think there's too much to do at night. We're gonna wake up tomorrow morning and explore more of the area, and I'll show you guys more of how the Bajau people live. Of course, before we're going to bed, we're getting another feast of some delicious seafood, and they got some chicken for me as well when they found out I don't eat seafood.
With sambal.
With sambal?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:50 a.m. I just woke up like 30-40 minutes ago. Santiago's been up for the last
2 hours.
2 hours? Okay. We're having breakfast now, which is omelets and rice. I guess they eat a lot of rice, but I like this combination, so I'm gonna eat that so I'm full for a while. I also brought my own bread and peanut butter because I wasn't sure what they're gonna actually have here, but this is fine. What is interesting about this house is that there's actually electricity connection from the mainland to here. Now it's not a lot of cables, it's not a lot of electricity, but there's a fan in my room that's with a cord, extension cord is connected to the main electricity supply. And on the other side, on the other room where my friend was sleeping, not really a room, but just like partitioned by this like cardboard wall, as you can see, he had a light. So I didn't have a light, but he didn't have a fan. But this is a pretty big luxury for the Bajau people, and we can only get that because Sampela, the village that we're in right now, is the largest Bajau village in this region. A normal Bajau settlement would have maybe 10 to 15 or a bit more than that houses. This one has 500, so they have a lot more infrastructure for things that you might need. What is also interesting about this house, or just all of these houses in the village, is that when you look at the floor of any house, you can see visible cracks between the bamboo and the wood, where you can see the ocean. And this is designed intentionally because the Bajau people have to be one with the water to do their job, because they live off the ocean. They need to see what the tide looks like, and it also like is practically convenient for people when they're eating something like small scraps of fish, let's say, they can just throw the bones straight into the water and not worry about having to take things out. Also, at first look, these houses might seem a bit flimsy because they're, you know, standing on sticks or like, you know, bamboos that are just like tied up together and just propped up on the ocean. But apparently this kind of infrastructure makes them more flexible and better able to withstand storms that might come running into the area. The Sama-Bajau people are the collective name for this group of sea nomads, as they're called, that live across the southern Philippines, across eastern Malaysia, and across different parts of Indonesia. The people that live in Indonesia are called the Bajau people. And it is believed that they arrived to Sulawesi as early as the 16th century through the Makassar Straits. Later on, they spread into the surrounding islands. So for most of their history, the Bajau people have been nomadic people that have lived almost entirely off the sea, off of eating what they can find with subsistence fishing, and also by trading whatever else they find in the ocean with nearby nations or nearby groups. The trade that they did, which is interesting, is mostly with like luxury sea products that they traded with China. They traded this thing called sea cucumbers, which is not a vegetable but an animal that you can find under the water. They traded pearls that they found underwater, and they traded shark fins. The mythical origins of the stories of how they actually came here vary from nation to nation, because you have to remember that the Sama-Bajau people are actually often living across different maritime boundaries of different Southeast Asian countries. So even though the Bajau people were living on the ocean, they usually stayed close to the shore. They often lived on houses built on stilts, like all of these houses that you can see around us. Sometimes they lived in these handmade boats where they like did their fishing, where they slept and everything. Although those boats have become harder and harder to find these days. The ethnic formation of the Bajau ethnic group can be traced back all the way to 880. All the linguistic evidence points that the earliest ancestors of the Bajau people actually came from the island of Borneo. And now we're gonna take a boat with people from our house to see how they go fishing, or in particular free diving, which is what the Bajau people are really known for. This is a tight space. Oh my god. Whoa. So we've reached our free diving spot. Kids are going in, and this one guy who's like a really good free diver is going in, and they've already gotten like so many fish. I have to be careful so I don't fall off here. They've already gotten so many fish in the short time. Oh my God. Okay, so the boat almost tilted when I was trying to vlog earlier, so I'm in a more stable place right now. But the kids already caught a lot of fish, and the main guy who's really good, he's caught a bunch of fish. He's just literally spearfishing and freediving in there, trying to get the shots of him catching a fish. So hopefully we can show you what it looks like. So my friend Santiago is in the water right now. He is a professional scuba diver. He was working in a scuba dive shop in Australia for a while. So I thought he'd be better at getting the shots than me.
Then we decided to give my action camera with a mount to the fisherman, and then we got the sickest shots.
Yo, he got a fish. Whoa. Oh. As you can see, just caught another really big fish. But let me tell you more about freediving and the Bajos, because that is one of the aspects in which they're truly like superheroes on modern Earth. The Sama-Bajau people are internationally famous for their exceptional freediving abilities, and then they work really long hours a day fishing and freediving. There have been many recorded cases of them spending over 4 hours a day underwater looking for fish. A lot of them actually rapture their eardrums when they're very young. This helps their ears not hurt when they're underwater. It's something you might know if you've ever done scuba diving. You got to equalize and stuff, but that is not a healthy thing, because a lot of these people have higher incidences of hearing loss when they're older. So the Sama-Bajau people have been spending more than 1,000 years freediving and getting fish from underwater, which have led to them developing like genetic traits over the centuries that make them better freedivers just naturally more than most other groups. And this has been proven over and over again in scientific studies. A 2018 study showed that the spleens of the Bajau people is actually 50% larger than like normal people that don't live with the Bajau tribes in nearby communities, which enable them to hold their breath for longer underwater. Other studies have shown that they have other genetic traits that allow them to deal better with carbon dioxide buildup in their bodies when they are underwater. So they are known to be holding their breath up to 5 minutes underwater. And this one guy over here, I've already seen him hold his breath more than 2.5 minutes on one dive one time. Oh! So he caught an octopus right now. Okay, so they went out for another round of spearfishing, and the guy caught like an octopus. Never seen someone catching an octopus while spearfishing, and a lobster as well. This is insane. It's 4 p.m. and after eating the octopus that we caught, we took a nap. And now we're gonna go back to explore the village a little bit more. We're taking a boat because they're afraid that we're gonna fall in the water if we try to walk like we did yesterday. Something really interesting I just noticed is that the water is a lot shallower than it was the last time we were on this boat. So I guess this is low tide now. We're back on the main road again, which is a bit more solid than the surrounding planks. And we're trying to go for a viewpoint.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by, doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again?
The funny part about any village in Southeast Asia is that every time I'm filming something with a drone or just filming something in general, there's like an army of kids surrounding me who are fascinated by the camera and the drone. In a shocking turn of events, we found in the middle of a water village a pool table.
So we played a little bit of pool with the locals and eventually took the boat back to our house to get some sleep. We woke up well before sunrise the next morning, said goodbye to our host family,
See you.
And headed off. Then it was another 1-hour boat journey to get to the closest ferry port.
Alright, it's 8:20 a.m. and we're back in the port of Wanshi waiting for our ferry again to go back to Bao Bao. This morning we had to wake up at 5:20 to record the intro for this video and then go. And last night was really interesting. We got to hang around town and we got to this shop where people were chilling, some local Bajau people were chilling, and we started talking to this one person that told us some very interesting things.
That's Bajau. Who people living in the sea, they call me si gypsy. They call me orang laut. In the lands, when you walk, this is other property. Bajau, when they wake up in the morning, this is my life. They throw net, spear gun. Sea is me.
Yeah. And the things he told us is very related to the stuff that I want to tell you guys now. You know, although the Bajau people have a reputation of being very friendly and being very hospitable, despite their humble circumstances, what a lot of people fail to see on the first glimpse is that they're also often like illiterate and impoverished because of their nomadic lifestyles. The number of people that are born and live their entire lives at sea are dropping every year because, you know, it's hard for them to continue that nomadic lifestyle, especially given the fish markets, the modern day fish markets. If you think about it, back in the days, there were seasonal traders. They would move from place to place. They would set up markets near the ports where they would sell whatever they had. But modern day fish markets require shops, and having those shops all the like for the whole year requires you to live near those shops on land. Historically, the Sama-Bajau group have also been treated as a lower status group across the region, partially because of their traditional lifestyle, living on boats and living along shorelines, as well as because of the fact that many of them have retained the ancient animist beliefs that their ancestors used to follow. Even though they have started practicing Islam, you can see hints of the old animist beliefs in some Bajau communities as the region that they live in has become more and more Muslim. In Philippines, the discrimination is particularly bad and continues to this day, which has forced many Sama-Bajau people from the Philippines to migrate to Indonesia and Malaysia, which is so ironic that their ancestors, the ones that have lived on these oceans for almost 1,000 years, and they're still treated like migrants or outsiders by people living on land. For centuries, they moved freely across the oceans wherever they needed to fish, but the creation of the modern states and the modern maritime borders of the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia means that they can't just go anywhere that they want to. And now it's illegal for them to sometimes go fishing in places that their forefathers used to fish in.
When I go fishing, Republic Indonesia give them rules, but in their mind, my rules, this is mine. I have rules, but when I go fishing, like you, when you go in the road, red lamp, stop. That's other people property. I cannot come there. In Bajau, when this is mine, this world, my limit is horizon.
You know, and sometimes they're penalized for crossing these boundaries. In 2014, Indonesian authorities destroyed 6 Filipino Bajau boats caught fishing in Indonesian waters. And this is a serious issue for the Bajau community because their boats are often also their homes where they live in. You know, it's become harder and harder for them to rely on traditional fishing practices and compete with like the big fishing industries with fishing trawlers and everything, which has often pushed parts of the community to resort to unsustainable or harmful fishing practices. And they don't do it because it's their tradition, they do it because they have no other option. They're just trying to put food on the plate for their families. In Indonesia, there have been efforts to integrate the Bajau communities through housing, schools, and healthcare, especially around southwest Sulawesi. The town that we're at yesterday actually has electricity now, and they were telling me that they didn't have electricity until even 5 years ago.
In Sampela, the electricity, is it given by the government, like the connection?
Yeah, Republic. It's nearly 1 tahun already. Yeah, it's about 5 years ago. When they start, they give a subsidy.
But now they do have electricity through government subsidized programs. But even with these improvements, they often remain on the margins of society. With their identities tied to the sea, the biggest challenge for them has been adapting to life on land. Because if you think about it, your whole ancestors, everyone believed that you got to live on the ocean, you got to be by the ocean so you can get good fish. All of a sudden, if you try to move these people onto land, it's going to be a hard transition. You're leaving the only way of life that you've ever known. On top of that, the skill sets they develop growing up that are related to living on the ocean all of a sudden become not that useful when they're forced to go live in a big city. While being celebrated as superhero-like characters in the media and in documentaries, the irony is that the modern realities have made it very hard for them to sustain their nomadic seafaring lives. We can only hope that the communities of the Bajau people and the governments of the regions that they live in can work together to create a space for them where they can thrive in this ever-changing world. All right, that is it for this video. We're gonna get on this boat, head back to the mainland Bau, and then take a flight tomorrow to Makassar. That's the first time we can get to a big city. So even though we only spent, like 48 hours with the Bajau community, this whole trip is taking us 6 days from like a major city like Bali to a major city like Jakarta, because it's just so hard to get here. If you like this video, don't forget to like it. If you want to watch more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I've been making more travel documentaries like this. If you want real-time travel updates, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Nadir on the go. I'll catch you in the next video from somewhere in Indonesia, I think.